Allen Questrom is here. Of course, you know him as the guy, the brainiac behind JCPenney, the chairman and CEO. Very big industry expert on this. We're happy to have you, Allen. You know, with all these fears and anxiety, good to see you. With all these fears and anxieties about retail, at least the Retail Federation put out some numbers last week that showed they think it's going to be a very strong Christmas, strong holiday season in general, up to 4.5% to 5% over last year's sales. Do you buy that?
I think it's going to be a good economy for the consumer and for retailers because we do have a very strong economy relative to the rest of the world and even relative to ourselves. We're far better today than we were 3 years ago. And I think you have to look back and say a lot of that is a result of the president's tax cuts and the tax revisions that he done 2 years ago. That's had a huge effect on people being hired, on the unemployment rate. And I think today people have a lot more money than they've had 2 years ago. So they're going to be buying. Now, the increases that are coming through in the tariffs, most of those have not been seen in the stores as yet, but they certainly will be seen as you start into the next year. But most of the products that the stores are going to be selling for this Christmas, they already have it in their assortments. So that will be less affected. But again, what the problem gets into is the negative effects of the trade, because this economy would be far greater than it is currently running if we did not have this thing going on, because it's hanging over our head. And I hope that this week some kind of resolve comes out of it, because quite frankly, for the president's case, if we are into a recession next year, which we could well be if we can't solve this trade issue, that would make it very difficult going into an election. So from his point of view, from the consumer point of view, from the retailer point of view, I hope we make some progress on it. If not a total solution, then at least some progress so that we always can come back later on after the election. But that's very much on people's minds.
Is that the tariffs scheduled going to October 15th, even if they do, they're kind of already baked into the cake? In other words, the people doing their holiday shopping aren't going to feel that, or what?
No, I think that the tariffs that are going in October, the products that will be affected will be October purchases. After that, that's from the retailer buying from the manufacturer. The customer will probably not be that affected by the tariffs that have been already taken, that will be taken in October.
So a lot of the retail, just to be clear, Allen, a lot of the retailers, American distributors who've sucked up a lot of that to try to avoid passing it on to their customers. Of course, they benefited the fact that, China's devalued its currency to cheapen the blow for them. But that would end eventually, right?
That will end, and the biggest effect will be next year.
Right.
I do not think it'll have that big an effect for this year. The customer really is, despite all the negative vibrations around her, the customer really feels a lot better about herself and her family's position in terms of their income. They should be, because we have great employment in this country. So I think that we will have a good Christmas. Whether it'll be 5.5% or 4%, I can't predict, but I think it'll certainly be positive and better than last year. And I think if we can solve this problem, I think we'll have a good year next year. If we can't, that's a question in the bit. There's been a lot of work done on this, but the problem is if they don't solve it from the Chinese point of view, American retailers and manufacturers are moving their manufacturing off of China into other countries, Vietnam being one of them, but they'll be moving a lot more. So I think it behoves both of us to come to a resolution, because it will help the Chinese as well as will help the United States.
Yeah, you think cooler heads would prevail and recognize it's in their mutual interest to not be
Well, that's
crazy.
Politics, and that doesn't usually work with cool heads.
No, it does not. No, it does not. Allen Questrom, thank you very, very much. So very
interesting. You look good, Neil.
You look good, my friend.